Okay, now what I'd like to talk about are the 20 different bone markings, or also called surface features. Okay, and these activities down here help you recognize and describe some of these surface features. What I'd like to do is I'd like to actually go here to your notes packet. I would encourage you, there's a great table on page 112 in your lab manual, and I would encourage you to first just see if you can write down the definitions of these different surface features. And just to explain what that is, let me go back to the screen where I'm showing you just me. So if we look here, okay, here's a bone. And it turns out, if you look closely, well, you can see a bump right here, and a bump right here, and a deep kind of groove right here. Well, it turns out each of these bumps, each of these grooves, here's another groove right in here, a bump, more bumps, okay. So it turns out each of these bumps and grooves and dips, in some cases, we're going to have a hole, okay, where things can actually go through the hole. Those are all surface features, and they are going to have specific words used to describe them. So for example, the word for a hole through a bone is a foramen, and so here is a hole, and it goes through this bone. It's a foramen. Now what we're going to find out is that each individual hole not only is going to be called a foramen, but this has a special name called the obturator foramen. Okay, and so each hole is going to be called a foramen, but then have a unique name in addition to foramen that helps us identify exactly where it is. Okay, so my suggestion is that you go to your text and go to page 112 in your lab manual, and it will take us there shortly. And here's this great table. It lists out all of these surface feature names and has you have the descriptions. So I would write those here. And then to make it easier for yourself, what I would suggest doing next is grouping them and looking through all of those and saying which ones of these up above would describe a hole or some sort of passageway for a bone, through a bone. Now, we've already talked about, I'll help you out with this a little. We've already talked about foramen. Okay, I've given you an example here. If we're looking at the skull, notice this big hole right here, that's also a foramen, okay? So, foramen is one, canal is another, meatus is another, fissure is another, okay? And so let me just give you some examples of what each of these are. Okay, so I've already showed you foramen on several different occasions. They don't always have to be large either. So here we're looking at the bottom side of the skull, and let me make sure. So this hole right here, it's a little bit smaller, okay, but that's also a foramen, okay. Now, what you may notice in the eyes, okay, is you should notice that there are a couple of things that are much more slit-like, okay. So see, this is more like a slit rather than a hole. So that's going to be a fissure. That's going to be different. This up here looks a lot like a foramen. Let me get a good angle here. Okay. Looks a lot like a foramen right there, but it turns out that's actually a canal. Okay. And then a meatus. This is going to be a hole that is pretty extensive through the bone, and so that would be a meatus. Okay, but you can see also something that's hole-like. Okay. So all of those terms are a hole through a bone. Okay. So some other terms that we could have here, features where two bones articulate. That means they connect to one another. So for example, here's our hand. You can notice on our finger here, this is one bone, this is another bone. They articulate, they connect to one another. Okay. It's also called a joint, where two bones connect. And so features that we're always going to find at joints, okay, trochlea is at a joint, condyles are at joints, facets are at joints, heads are at joints. Surface features that are a dip or a groove in the bones, well, we've got a sulcus, a fossa, a notch, and a groove. Which of the above surface features could be used to describe a bump or a pointy projection on a bone? I would suggest changing this, a bump or a pointy projection on a bone, but not at a joint, which is where two bones meet up. Okay, and so the surface features, there's actually quite a lot: epicondyles, tuberosities, trochanters, process, spine, tubercles. Okay, these are all some sort of bump or a pointy projection. A long ridge, crest, or a line. Okay, and then there's going to be some that just don't fit into any category. Sinus, diaphysis, neck, ramus. Okay. And so these are going to be ones that are a bit unique and may not fit into the other categories. Okay, so my suggestion is that you look through the pictures in your book, and after looking at the definitions, and see what these features are and why would all of them be really talking about a bump or something sticking out from a bone.